Hey guys, it's me, Crystal, and today I'm going to show you how to make the easiest loom knit baby hat. To start, I'm using my 24 peg loom here for this first one. This is going to make a newborn or a preemie size hat, and you'll find the supply list all down below. And I'm using this bulky yarn. This is like Hometown by Lion Brand. And then I have a stitch marker, and since my loom doesn't have a holding peg, I'm just going to stick a stitch marker on to be my first peg. Then you're going to make a slip knot, so just wrap your yarn around your fingers and pull it through like this to make a loop. Then take the yarn off your fingers and you pull the two ends in the loop to tighten it up. And just slip that loop onto your peg that has the stitch marker and pull the working yarn, the long yarn end, to tighten it up. Put the short end in the middle like that, and now we're ready to cast on. So I'm going to go to the left. You could also go to the right. It really doesn't matter, but just pick one direction and stick to it. And then we're going to Ewrap. So you go around each peg like this, and it's in an Ewrap because it looks like a cursive E, a lowercase cursive E. And you're just going to do that going around. Try not to make it too tight. You just want it to be tight enough that it doesn't slip off the peg. But don't pull super tight or it'll be really hard on you later. Once you get all the way around, you're going to push the loops down to the bottom of the pegs. And just do that all the way around. And then we're going to wrap around again the same way. So you're just going to continue around on each peg, wrapping one more time at the tops of the pegs. And then you're going to do that all the way around. And when you get back to the beginning, you just hold your yarn here and you grab your little hook that comes with your knitting loom. And I like to start on the last one I wrapped because then it will hold the yarn in place. And you just bring the bottom loop over the top and off the peg. And then I go around the same way that I was wrapping. And if you do that, it holds. Otherwise, your yarn can start slipping off the loops while you're working on it. So that holds it down so it doesn't do that. And you're just going to continue pulling all the bottom loops off and over the top loop and off the peg all the way around. And this is your cast on row. This is called an Ewrap cast on. Then we're going to continue Ewrapping for the rest of the hat. So this is really all you got to know. Once you get back to the beginning, push all your loops back down to the bottom of the peg. And this is what you're going to do for the whole hat. So then you're just going to go ahead and Ewrap again, wrapping all the way around and repeat. And this is the same process whether you use this size loom or if you used a larger one. I also made a hat with a 36 peg loom. That's for like an older baby, maybe like a 3 months, or it depends. My kids had really big heads, so probably the size I would have used for my kids when they were babies. Just depends. This makes a pretty small hat. But just continue doing this, and for a newborn hat, you're going to do 20 rows on this 24 peg loom. That's what I did here, was 20 rows. If you're doing the 36 peg loom, I recommend doing 25 rows. Here we are. So, okay, now I've done my 20 rows. And now we're going to do our little cast off thing. So you take your yarn and wrap it all the way around the loom like that. And then I go a little further just for a little extra cord, never hurts. And go ahead and cut your yarn. You're going to thread your yarn onto a large eye yarn needle. And I'm using a metal one here, but I actually have a plastic one that I switched to because it works a lot better for this. And then we're going to go around the way we were going, and we're going to just thread the yarn up under the loop and through like that. And then you can just keep going, or you can go ahead and pull the loop off of the peg as you go. It's up to you. I just did a couple and then I slipped these two off the pegs like this. But this is casting off, so there we go. And then I decided I need to switch my needle because that one wasn't working well. And then you just sew up through the loop and then pull that loop off the peg. And you're going to do that all the way around for each one. So here I'm at the end of my last 2 loops. Get it off of your loom. And now we can finish up the top of this hat. We can just cinch it up. So you just pull until it closes that hole, pull it through, and then you're going to sew your yarn through into the inside of the hat. So we can finish it off on the inside. So flip your hat inside out. And then we're going to pull the yarn to tighten up that hole really, really good. And then we're going to go ahead and sew around through the loops again that we cinched the hole up with, just to make sure it's extra secure. So I just go all the way around the hole, sewing through those same loops. And this just helps make sure that the hole doesn't come open later, which is no fun. All right, and then I just go under one loop and tie a knot to make sure it is really good and secure. There's my second knot. Probably overkill, but you know, don't want it to come undone. And then just thread your yarn under a couple more loops going back around the circle, and then I like to pull the knot like up underneath the loops so there's not like a hard knot there on their little baby's soft little head. And that makes it so, you know, it's a little less irritating. And then we're going to look and make sure the hole's closed, which it is. If it wasn't, you could kind of sew across the hole to close it up a little bit more in like an X pattern, but since this one isn't, I will just not worry about it. And then you're just gonna feed your yarn under a few loops on the inside of the hat, just to hide the tail. That way there's a little bit of a tail if you for some reason needed to tighten the hole back up. And cut your excess yarn, flip your hat back around, and then we just have one more tail to deal with, which is on the brim. So you're just going to thread it onto your yarn needle and then flip your hat back inside out, and you're just going to weave that tail up under a few stitches. The knot should hold it in place so you don't have to knot it again. And then cut the excess, and your hat is done. That's the world's easiest baby hat. And these are pretty stretchy. You see it stretches pretty good. So I would say a newborn, and if your tail is still sticking out, you can just trim the little excess off there. But if you have a newborn with a pretty little head or like a preemie size baby, this would be a perfect size hat for them. And it's nice and soft. This hat measures about 5-ish inches. If you measure from the very top, it's about 5 inches. If you roll it down a little bit, maybe 5.5 inches. It is a little stretchy. So I would say about 5 inches down, and then it's about 12 inches around. But like I said, it does stretch quite a bit. So, you know, it could be for a smaller baby. And there's that one. And then here's the larger one. And I did this one with my 36 peg loom, and this is the 24. You see the difference? And here they are. They're the exact same hat, exact same process, just added a few more rows for the other one. This one comes down to about 7 inches down from the top, and it's about 16 inches around. So that might fit like an older baby or like a toddler. Just depends on how big your kid's head is. My kids had really big heads, so I would probably go with the bigger one. If you want to add a pom-pom, I'll link a tutorial to that up in the corner and down below, or you could just leave it as it is. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and if you did, please leave a like, comment, and be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any of my future videos. Thanks for watching!